So Valerie has asked me to come up with a few tips and advice for Bitcoin creators, and she said I have a very limited amount of time to do it with this video, so I'm going to go as quickly as possible with a couple of things I've thought, because I don't really have time to do a whole podcast here, of course. One I would say is a lot of us are solopreneurs. You know, we do something special. We think we're potentially better than others. You know, we're better writers, we're better filmmakers, we're better artists, whatever. And we also bring that sort of competitive attitude from the fiat world. I would say with Bitcoin, and as part of Bitcoin's ethos, is to start collaborating. You know, think of yourself as a node and the benefit of adding more nodes and adding a network. You know, who else does something better than you? What is your team? What is your Avengers that you can combine and collaborate with to build something bigger? It's like, rather than just having that whole pie yourself, but maybe 2 or 3 people are nibbling at that pie, how can you have one piece of a 200-piece pie, but have hundreds of thousands of people participate in? I know that's difficult for some artists. Many times the reason someone becomes an artist in the first place is because they have this singular vision. And you can definitely headline something and have a clear strategy, but I really think it's helpful, and especially with Bitcoin, to think in terms of partnerships, think of collaborations, DM people out on Twitter, reach out to people. Like, everyone is so accessible. As you know, our community is very small, but I would say really try to set aside the solo artist mentality. That would be my first piece of advice. 2, I would say pigeonhole yourself. And I know this is sometimes seen as a negative thing. I was languishing in Hollywood between projects at one point, and my agent sat me down and they said, you know, the problem is there are tons of showrunners, there are tons of directors, writers, producers, all of which you do, but how are you different than the 200 other people out there? And they said, you have to come up with your narrative, you have to come up with your story, and you have to pick something specific. And even if it's not 100% authentic to who you are and what you do, by pigeonholing one area that you have a skill set and that you're good at and that you're passionate about, even if that's only one aspect of it, I think it'll benefit you, right? You can look at someone like Tomer Strolight, right? Like, I'm sure Tomer is great with finance. He's worked with big corporations. I'm sure he can talk macro. But he has pigeonholed himself, whether intentional or not, into this sort of, you know, spiritual, philosophical realm and aspect of Bitcoin. And we all love him for that. Like, that's the area we want. I mean, look at Valerie, right? Clearly, I don't even have to tell you. We know her brand. So you know when to hire Valerie, when to collaborate with Valerie. You know what value she brings. Even though I personally know she's great with finance and real estate and other areas, but I don't think of her that way. So it's easy for me to think of her when I need something specific. 3rd would be the heuristic of providing value first. I know we want to put out our goods and our services, our wares out there and say, hey, I've done all this work, you know, store's open, come buy it. But I think it's important, and especially in Bitcoin, you know, similar to like a newsletter or a podcast, is just give away your stuff for free as much as you can. Give. Let people gain a lot of value. And then when you need to ask for something, then when you need to take, you can do that. You can say, hey, look, I've given you all these things. Now, by the way, I've made this thing. Would you please buy it? Would you please contribute? Maybe this, you would find value in this. Or, hey, if you found value in these last 15 things that I've given you, would you mind, you know, paying for this? Those are 3 little tips. Maybe they're obvious. I don't know, but maybe they'd be helpful. I just wanted to leave with one last thing because I see I'm running out of time here. Feel free to DM me. I'm on Twitter at Proof of Money. I don't want to spend my Bitcoin or my sats really on anything, but if there's one thing I will spend it on, it's to help other Bitcoiners. If there's something that I think is great, it's somewhat philanthropic because I don't necessarily need to make a return on my money. I would like to get it back, but if there's something that I find valuable that helps me, helps my brand, helps you, helps your brand, and helps educate and orange pill others, I'd like to look at it. I'm definitely not any big VC by any means, but I have a little bit of Bitcoin, and I would like to share some of that Bitcoin with others if they're creating something really cool and beneficial. So there you go.